Welcome. It's another episode of Wave On, and I'm the host, Misty Markham, here in Sylvan Lake, Michigan, and I have a special guest today on the line, Anayat with Manifest Movement. She's going to talk about all her inspiration of traveling, empowering others to find their way through yoga, fitness, traveling, creating experiences for them. And I just want to throw out the code LUNA10 for LunaMoon, supyoga.com. You can save on retail, lip balm. Go to the page and shop and use your code LUNA10. Super excited. I've got an awesome guest online, and her name is Anayat, and I actually know her through yoga. We have a little bit of yoga experience from the background, but she's going to talk about her new endeavors and talk a little bit about her entrepreneurship. And she is Anayat with Manifest Movements. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, thanks for coming and being on the show. I'm excited.
Yes.
Yeah. So I invited you on. Obviously, you're set out into your way of coasting out and traveling and inspiring people, motivating people with movement, yoga, and you've also kind of gotten into a little bit more even just fitness, like coaching one-on-one. And your site looks great with all this information and just super cool stuff you're working on. So how did you get kind of started in wanting to do this?
Well, first of all, thank you for saying that my website looks beautiful because I always spend so much time on there.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. And then it's like I'm constantly updating it, but it's really fun. It's become fun for me. How did I get started? I did yoga teacher training with you. What was that? 3, 4, 5 years ago? Like, I don't even remember. At least 4, I think,
At
right?
least 4 to 5, I think.
Yeah. So I actually feel like that was like a very, very pivotal point in my life, mainly with the philosophy piece and just like seeing things from a different perspective, really starting to dive in and self-reflect and realize a lot of my own patterns. So I do always go back to like that being a very, very pivotal part for me in diving into my own inner work. And also when I left my job a couple of years ago to travel, I traveled for like 3-4 months. And that was like another, like I give credit to those very two pivotal moments in my life that kind of, I guess, started all of this. So it started with me teaching yoga a little bit here and there after I finished training. I did some travel in between. I moved to Nashville for a year where I still taught. But honestly, I was always in corporate America and I was always really unhappy. And I did quit once, and that was when I worked for a company for a year in Michigan. Then I moved out to Nashville with the same company for another year. And then I got this really amazing travel opportunity with one of my best friends. She was like, "Do you want to like travel for 3 months?" And I was like, "What? No, like I can't afford that. There's absolutely no way. Like you're insane." So I still to this day, I'm like, I don't know like what the moment was where I'm like, okay, fuck it. Like, I'm just going to do it. But I did. And I was like, in order to do that, like, I obviously have to quit my job. Like, I don't have that much PTO. We live in America. So, it's not like we live in Europe where they get like 3 months. Right.
Right.
But I knew like ultimately that job wasn't my end all be all. And I was able to save up some money for a couple months and just honestly like trust that the universe had my back and that it was going to work out and this is what I needed to do. So when I came home from that really big trip, I moved back with my parents for a little bit, tried to just figure out like what I was going to do next sort of thing. I was teaching yoga again. I was working for the studio that I was teaching at. So it all kind of worked out. And then from there, just kind of started to expand into the fitness industry. I met somebody through a gym that I was training at, and she ended up opening her own gym. So then I started training one-on-one clients and doing small semi-private groups. So I've been there for like, gosh, almost a year doing that.
Wow.
And yeah, so I just feel like over the past year, I'm starting to see or I started to see my own power, step into my own power and what I was capable of doing on my own. Whereas I always relied on the security of corporate America or other companies. And I never in my life, people used to ask me all the time, why do you open your own yoga studio? Why do you open your own studio? I was like, what? Like, I don't know the first thing about business. Like, absolutely not. And now it's like, holy shit, I'm an entrepreneur. And how did this happen? And it's going well. Like, it's so crazy. So I
Yeah.
just keep kind of evolving now, and
Right.
doing the most recent thing was my yoga retreats. So I launched my first one a couple months ago and it sold out in a week. I launched my second one a month later and that one sold out in 4 days. And I actually had
Wow.
to, I started with 12 people. It was a Morocco retreat. It was the second one that I launched, and I had to up it to 18 people. So just like completely blown away. So, so grateful for this opportunity, because yoga retreats is like literally everything I love wrapped into one. So
Right.
it's the yoga, the travel, it's bringing people together to connect and also dive into some inner work while we're on these retreats, while we're away. Like, not just like, let's go on vacation, have some cocktails on the beach. Like,
Right.
I want them to be bigger than that. And I want them to be an experience, not just a vacation. So yeah,
That's awesome.
lots of things.
Yeah. So that was a big spiel. A good one, but I'm just saying that no, that's awesome. I mean, and very relatable from my standpoint as well. You know, like there's a lot of little things in there that, you know, I encountered as well. And you know, especially the corporate America thing. And I think bottom line, it does kind of come down to a security type of thing. And
Mhm.
I don't know if you've gotten asked a lot of questions about that, like how you made that transition, and when did you finally decide to like rip the Band-Aid?
Yeah, I think it goes back to, honestly, and I'm kind of working through a lot of this right now, but like childhood conditioning and like past conditioning, and what we were told that is secure, and like, you have to have this job, you need to be making this amount of money, you need to be contribute, like all these things. So like right now I feel like I'm in the process of like undoing all of what I've come to know and learn, because it's not the only way. But I always said, like, I asked my little sister, she's actually an entrepreneur, and I was like, when is the right time? Like, how much money should I have saved before I quit my job? Excuse me. And she never like had corporate to like leave from. She kind of was always doing her own thing. So she was just like, you just like quit. I was like, okay, that's terrible advice for somebody that's like very type A. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I just like, I would talk to my friends and just be like, I'll just like, I'm just gonna wait on a feeling. And when I almost become too overwhelmed with like juggling both, and when I get this feeling that like I feel like I have a pretty strong intuition, and just trusting my intuition that I know it's time to make that transition and like rip off the band-aid, like you said,
Yeah.
then I'll just do it. And um, that time came for me like January, February, just, so a couple months ago. And I always had like both of my computers working, like my work computer, and then I had my own stuff.
Yeah.
And I was so obviously drawn to like doing my own thing and like doing what I love. Like, this is what's fun for me. And it became like I was getting, a lot of business, and I got to the point where I was like, I don't have enough time literally in my day, no matter if I wake up at 5 a.m. and go to bed at 10, like I just can't take any more of my own stuff. So I was like, I was explaining it to my friend in that way. And she's like, I think this is the moment you've been waiting for. And I was like, you're right. It is. So yeah, I like cried after I got hung up the phone with my boss. I like totally shocked him. And he's like, whoa, okay. I need time for this to settle in. And I was like, and then I hung up with him and I was like, oh my God, I just did that, and just started crying, happy tears, right? But also like very scared. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
I guess that was kind of like the transition point.
Yeah, yeah, it sounds like it. It's the whole thing of like you're saying with the intuition, and then just kind of having a knowing, a feeling. I know I've tried to describe that to some, but I don't know. Sometimes it clicks, and sometimes it doesn't. You know, when you get asked about that, and
Hmm.
you know, I really do believe what you just said. It's because I've heard other people say it too. It's either that, you know, you've already started something and you're building it, growing it, and then all of a sudden you're like, uh-oh, I something is clicked here for me, and I'm like you said, you either get too busy and maybe you've got a little bit more confidence in you where you're just like, okay, I'm going to jump now, and it's a leap of faith, like you said, universe having your back.
Mm-hmm.
just giving you that push, like, it's even part of like this podcast called Wave On. It's like that wave, that surge you get, like when you're surfing, it's just a metaphor. And,
Mm-hmm.
I wholeheartedly believe that.
Yeah, I love that. I love
Yeah.
that metaphor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely more of like an energetic feeling that is hard to explain for sure. But I think we all already know and like have that answer within us. It's just more of like overcoming the fear. Like fear is a bitch and it's
Yeah.
just it's getting over that really is
Yes.
all it is because you know ultimately what you want to do and what brings you happiness and what brings you joy. But again, it goes back to that conditioning and like what you're supposed to be doing based on what society tells you you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So it's like, does it mean enough to you? Are you passionate enough to leave behind what you're supposed to be doing versus what you really, really, really want to be doing?
Right. And like you're saying, I don't know how much younger your sister is from you, but it can be that generational thing too, where you're like, well, wait a minute, I can't just quit. Like,
Right, right. She's like 7 years younger than me, so she's just like, oh, And I think another thing that I like go back to also is I used to look at yoga teachers all the time and be like, how do they just teach classes and like make a living? And I used to blame it on, well, they have a partner, like they're married and they have a partner that probably helps with like and supports them, this and that, and like which is true, like right, like there could be some truth to that for sure, but like
yeah,
that's just another excuse I was making for myself because I'm single and I don't have that extra support system, it's just I'm supporting myself.
yeah.
Um, but looking back now, I'm like that was like an excuse for me to not just make that jump.
Right. And not only that, but actually there's a little bit of advantage to that on your side. I will say. Nothing wrong with being married. I'm just throwing it out there. When you don't have that other person to, hey, is this all right? Or are you cool with this?
Yeah, it could go both ways, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly. You might have a little bit more freedom, but I'm not saying I'm
Yeah,
pigeonholed, but
yeah.
there's
We
a
won't
little
let
bit
your
of
husband listen
positive
to this
to that.
episode.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't even actually know what you did at corporate America, but sometimes there's good qualities that skill set that you built out of that and to what you're doing now. Because entrepreneurial, I mean, that's wearing a lot of hats, especially if you don't
Mm-hmm.
have like a team with you. I know I'm in that position where this it's just me here, like doing this.
Yeah.
So I don't know your take on that, on how you feel about that, and like maybe some skill sets where you're like, ooh, I might be lacking on that one a little bit, and I need a little help.
Yeah, for sure. It is wearing so many hats, and I definitely did not realize that. But I'm learning something new every day. Like yesterday, for example, I had to learn how to send out like newsletters, and it's like I feel like I'm constantly learning a new platform. Like, how do this many exist? Like,
Yeah,
what the
yeah.
heck? Um, but yeah, like I used to be in sales, actually outside sales for a company called Granger, and so I've done like a lot of that corporate sales training that I like totally brushed off, hardly listened to, half-assed it for sure. But now I'm in this work, and I'm like, wow, a lot of this definitely comes into play, and I didn't realize it. So even when like the way that sometimes I'm communicating with people, not being salesy, but like making that connection, but then knowing how to kind of like end the call properly or um, kind of how to keep like my book of business like organized and manage everything because that was a lot of what I was doing then. Like I had so many different customers just like I do now, right? So it definitely translates into
That's cool.
from what I learned and yeah and now and kind of like the processes of how to go through things
Hmm.
has also been helpful and I kind of like start to see that now even sometimes when I help my sister like write an email or something like being sometimes more professional and needing to have that to wear that hat. I kind of know how to do that from my past job. So
Yeah.
yeah, it for sure translates.
Yeah. Some of the past that I've had on, and actually, ironically, I did not plan it like this. When invite people to come onto the podcast, it just kind of how it streamlines in, their responses. But the last two they have retreats and very different from
Nice.
from each other, but one is still working, and so she's building this retreat, the idea up, outdoorsy, and then the other one previous was sort of forced into it because she was an event planner. So her event planning had helped into what she started to dream and build about with it was paddleboard tours. But I was I don't, just me, like looking at the overall, branches and how, a little bit of this from something that they learned, and then driving like a passion, like yours is, traveling and yoga and fitness and all of that. And then it's like they all merge together. I just find that very cool how, like, I mean, even for myself that, it came together as like a web, and it's building trust in yourself, and just, being supportive around the right people, I guess, is another one as well. You have that like support team. I mean, I'm sure you've got friends and family that are definitely on your side.
Yeah, I think surrounding yourself by the right people is huge. And I feel like I keep saying that a lot to like a couple of friends of mine that want to kind of transition to out of, working the 9 to 5 type of thing. And it's so important with who you surround yourself with. Honestly, like, I kind of don't feel like my mom was and my dad were on board for me when I quit. So that was really hard too. She's, why would you walk away from this money? And you should have again, going back to, past conditioning, and it's no one's fault, right? Like, we all learn from our mothers and so on and so forth. But for a minute, I didn't fully feel like I had the support from them, which was really hard because I kind of felt like I needed to sort of prove myself. And so, I think it's really important for who you surround yourself with, making sure you have those people around you. I'm in a business coaching program right now that every time I leave those calls, like they're twice a week, I'm like, man, I have these women that totally support me. And I feel I leave the calls just so inspired to just continue to do what I'm doing. And like you mentioned earlier, just like having the confidence to do it too. I think that goes back to a lot of the inner work, not just like, I'm going to throw myself out there and like hope that this happens. And you still have like those internal struggles and those internal fears. If you don't work on that shit and like overcome them and be constantly practicing, moving through that stuff, like it's just not going to happen. I think it talks to like your energy level and like your vibe. Like, where are you vibing at? Are you vibing at high or low? And if you still have those internal struggles and fears, like, they're going to come out no matter what. And you're going to be vibrating a little bit lower. And that's exactly what you're going to attract, like law of attraction. Mm-hmm. And then if you really truly believe in yourself and you have that confidence and you're up here, like, that's where you're vibing, and that's what you're going to attract. That's when people start to come to you. It's not about selling myself, but it's about stepping into my own power and having that confidence. And naturally, like, energy is money, right? So like, people will come, and if I am being my best self, if I am vibrating high and I'm being confident and knowing in what I can do, what I have to offer, like, that's when people will just come.
Yeah.
So I always have to like just go back to that, which is hard. Like, I told my friend the other day, I was like, I'm in flow. Like, I'm not always up here. Like, let's be real. Like, it's reality. Like, I am down here sometimes.
Yeah.
But like, having a support system is huge, and really self-reflecting and spending a lot of time alone. I think you have to figure out to see what comes up for you, even though it might be uncomfortable.
Right. Yeah. I would agree with that as well, because I mean, my stuff is more or less off season, but, and actually very different this year because I'm not really teaching in the studio. So yoga and, or having like workshops or anything like that really. But yeah, you still have one of those mornings where you wake up and you're like, what in the hell did I do? And usually for me, it's in January and February. I mean, I never have really those moments in the summer because I'm on the high, like I'm on the water. I've got classes and people are, coming to me, but those lonely times like in January and February, I wish I would have just packed up and gone to Florida.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to like deal with those slower times and like the lull of things after you've like been on this high. It's like, how do you stay up here now knowing that like the water's frozen over and you can't do what you love. It's like, but then you think you have to be creative and like,
Yeah.
just start to shift and what else can I do to kind of like still stay up here and still ultimately that how are you benefiting the collective, right? Like what you do is benefiting the people that, that you're attracting because it's done so much for you, right? Like you
Hmm.
do it because you see the value that it's brought to your life. And same thing for me. Like I see how much travel and yoga has brought to my life that like ultimately I want to share that with the collective. That's why I create what I create.
Yeah.
So it's like, how can I be creative and like do something different now, even though I have this really hard challenge of like literally the lake's frozen over and it can't be on the water.
Right.
So yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, yeah. So, and it goes by fast. It becomes drama in my head. It's like
Yeah.
it can be
That ego.
it
We
can
know
be
all
pretty
about that.
dramatic. I'm like, oh no, the world's ending. No.
Right,
Oh.
right.
So I well, there's a lot of travel that I've always loved to travel, but that's another like piece that I think we've had in common. And then obviously with everything going on within the past year is kind of like put a little bit of damper on things and stuff. I mean, is that a little bit of a challenge for you or?
Yeah, I'm definitely getting the COVID questions as people are signing into the retreats. But not as much as I expected. I think people are really ready to travel and just like get out there. I think with the vaccine becoming
Yeah.
so much more available, honestly, most of the people that have signed up for my first two retreats, I feel like are already vaccinated. Um, and the countries we're going to are open as of today. So it's like a couple months or a year from now when, we go on those,
Yeah.
it can only go up from here. It's like what I keep saying, right? Like there's no way it can get worse. Um, but yeah, there's definitely I think a little bit of like fear, but I feel like the vaccine is helping people become more comfortable. And
Right.
I definitely address that like in the when I'm signing people up for the retreats, I make sure I have a call with everyone. Just because I think it's important that everyone is in alignment with sort of my vision and mission for the retreats. Um, and during those calls, I definitely have been like touching on COVID and just like, here's kind of, the protocol and where the country is at now. Like they're open, but you need to be tested or, whatever the rules are, just kind of outlining that. But also being transparent, like, I don't know what's going to happen a year from now. Like, I don't know what March 2022 in Morocco is going to look like. Hopefully, like, way better. We might not have to get tested, but I don't know. But yeah, like, ultimately, I feel like people are ready to just travel and get out and like find some normalcy again.
Yeah.
So
Something to look forward to.
yeah, for sure. And I mean, I still traveled a decent amount throughout COVID. So for me, I guess I kind of didn't let it completely hold me back. I was
Hmm.
obviously still cautious. I went to Aruba a couple times, but like had to get tested before I went, and then just traveled like domestically, and
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm a kind of person that like doesn't want to stay stuck in the fear of the virus. I've had it too. Like I
Oh,
had
did
it
you?
and I had it pretty terrible. Not from traveling though. I was like home for a while.
Oh,
But thank God, like I feel totally fine after. I didn't have any like long last. I know it hits everyone totally different, and I'm definitely not insensitive to the virus or people getting it. But I also just didn't want to like let it hold me back from doing
yeah.
life. So
Sure.
it's like finding that fine line.
Yeah, totally. Um, yeah, I know. I'm trying to get on the list. I've signed up, but I'm just I guess waiting like in the ether
Okay.
somewhere to,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
get a
I'm sure
call,
there's a
a
lot.
magic call somewhere.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's pretty crazy. Did you have any success with getting a vaccine or?
No, I'm not gonna get it for right now. That's another thing. People are starting, well, like, what if you need people that don't really want it? They're like, well, what if you need the vaccine by the time we go to Aruba, whatever? And I'm like, well, I'll just kind of like cross that bridge when I get there. If that happens and then, I'll have to do it, right? It's just
Yeah.
like I just try not to like, I guess, let those thoughts consume me or prevent me from like continuing to have and plan retreats and all that stuff. So I just like day by day working through it, just like everybody else, you know?
Yeah, right. Nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so what is your favorite so far out of like places that you've gone to and traveled to? Like something that sticks out in your mind.
Bali.
Bali?
I always say Bali. Yeah. So I spent about 3 weeks there, and I will definitely be planning a Bali retreat as soon as they're open to the US. Um, I've heard some rumors about like May, June, or also next year. So I don't really know.
Yeah.
But I love, love, love Bali. It is my favorite place on earth. Mainly the people.
Yeah.
I love to travel to like get to know the people too and the culture and just see their way of living. And they just live such a simple life. Like the things that I feel like we stress over in America are just like not even a thing. And it's just refreshing, like to be around the people that are just like always smiling and genuinely like just happy without having all these like added stressors that they place on themselves like we do. Um, yeah, they're just so sweet, and not to mention it's absolutely beautiful. It's super huge.
Yeah.
So there's lots of different islands you can pop around to. But yeah, I don't know. I just totally fell in love. I'm always more attracted to water as well. So you can relate to this.
Hmm.
Yeah, like people are like mountains or water, and I always say I'm definitely like always want to be on the ocean or like by the water. So um, yeah, I don't know. I went to like a couple other places that were definitely amazing too, but I just always have to say Bali because I had so many little experiences there with the people there
Yeah.
that it's just like, oh, my heart is in Bali. I always say that.
Yeah, there's always great stories or magical stories that come from people that visit, and yeah, so I could see that totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just say Morocco for next year?
Yeah. So Morocco is a year from now. That'll be 18 people. And then Aruba retreat is actually the very first one that I launched, and I did it women's only, a smaller intimate group. So it's going to be 13 women. And that one is in October of this year. So yeah, those are the two I have right now, but I'm working on planning my next one right now, and it'll probably be a domestic one. So yeah, I'm just like playing with some options right now.
Oh, cool. Well, if you ever want a partner or co-partner, maybe.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
It'd be fun for sure.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So travel planners searching out for these destinations, and I mean you're probably just like always on the lookout or something, right?
Yeah, Instagram's great for that. And you
Yeah.
search like the travel tab and you're like, oh my God, I want to go here, here. Honestly, even if I look at a map, I tell people, I'm like, I get overwhelmed looking at a map because I'll be like, okay, well, we could go here. But while I'm here, I should go here, here, here because they're all so close, right? Like it only makes sense.
Yeah.
So, well, like for Morocco, for example, I'm half Egyptian. So my dad was born in Egypt and we're going to be super close, right? So me and my sister are making a little trip, and hopefully my parents will get to join us. But after my Morocco retreat, we'll pop over to Egypt, and I still have a lot of family there that I've never met.
Oh wow.
Some of them I have. So hopefully that all works out, and we'll be able to go over to Egypt after that. But yeah, I have like this bad habit of I see somewhere on a map, and I'm like, okay, now I get to go here, 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 just like everywhere surrounding. So yeah, but it's really cool. Like after my big trip, people were like, wow, like, are you done? I remember my friend asked me, he was like, are you done traveling now? Like you've seen so much of the world. And I was like, what? I was like, there's so much world left to see. Are you kidding
There's
me?
a ton to see.
Like I will never stop. I don't think
Even
like
in the
there's just
US,
so
there's
much.
tons to see.
I know. That's why I want to do the next one domestic because I'm like, there's a lot of places within the States that I haven't seen yet. So yeah, and for people that don't feel comfortable traveling internationally yet, I want to make that an opportunity too.
Yeah, that would be no, that's a good idea. That's a good idea to do that. Because, it keeps it like a nice variety.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
And, you're doing it full time now, so.
Yeah. So it's great. I'm living my dream. I said that I can't tell you how many times I said I'm living my dream after I hung up a call with somebody about Morocco. Like it just still is so hard for me. Not hard for me to wrap my head around, but I'm like, wow, I can't believe this is it. Like living my dream. But that took a really long time and a lot of self-discovery type work to get to that place. But I'm just like so grateful. And for every single person that trusts me in like leading them in this experience too, I think is like a really big deal. I don't take that lightly. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
That's cool. Yeah, that you probably have to voice that type of thing, right? Like really let them know that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like you're stating the obvious, but like you're making I mean, I'm just imagining this probably because I just know you. So it's like
Yeah, I
very,
definitely, yeah. And like that's part of my mission, my vision too. Like I want people to feel seen and feel supported. Like always going back to that again, creating that experience versus just a vacation. So
yeah.
yeah, I try my best to communicate that when I talk to people and just genuinely like excited for them to come. Some people have never been out of the country before and their first trip will be Morocco. Like, could you even imagine that? Like that would be
It'd be
insane,
insane,
right?
right? I know. Oh
They
my
got a
gosh.
really long plane ride ahead of them, but that's okay. Like it's always worth it.
How long is it?
Oh gosh, probably like a whole day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be pretty much a whole day with
Wow.
the layover and all that. But the retreat's 10 days, so it's like you make it long enough to where you don't feel like you just landed and then you're just getting back on the plane.
Mhm.
So I try and plan it accordingly.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um and then I mean, you probably just have to field questions and all of that sort of thing with just like you said
Hmm.
earlier with just, how is travel going and things like that, but
Yeah.
yeah, you just got to have to just take it as it comes too, right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people tend. I'm learning that people are pretty much asking a lot of the same questions, and I put all of the people that are coming on the retreats in private Facebook groups, so that
Oh, okay.
we can start to all just like everyone can ask a question, so that everyone can see it. Because some of them are like a little bit further out, people aren't really asking right now, but at least there's that community to start connecting with also.
Mhm.
Um, See, I'm sorry, my printer just started going off. I don't know what's happening. Can you hear something?
It's printing a map.
Yeah. So it's yes, it knows me.
It does. It's like, here's your next retreat. What if it said that?
That would be amazing. I almost need that for me because I'm like, I don't know where to pick.
Oh
That's
my
so funny.
gosh. Well, what if I ask you a really random question right now?
Okay, go.
Okay,
Sure.
go. So
I'm nervous.
no, don't be nervous. Don't do that. If you were to take something, a landmark or something geographical feature from somewhere else and bring it here into the state of Michigan, because that's where we live, and there's highs and lows with that, but what just out of fantasy land, anything crazy, it doesn't, you know what? It's just all hypothetical.
A landmark. Like, can I like bring a mountain or something?
Sure. Landmark or something geographical feature. A mountain is a
Hmm.
geographical feature.
Right? That's where my mind went.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring this. It's called Mount Batur, this mountain from Bali that I did a
Ooh.
sunrise hike. By
Wow.
sunrise, I mean we started at like 3 a.m.
Wow.
And once you made it to the top, you were like sitting above the clouds and watching sunrise from there was
Amazing.
just so magical. Yeah, it was like a full moon. I remember they picked us up on their scooters, and it was like still so dark out,
Yeah.
and I'm just like holding on to this stranger and like looking up at the moon. And I'm like, wow, this is so special. We were just like on our way to go climb this mountain. But yeah, it was so beautiful. So I'll bring that here.
You bring that here. Wow.
I'll
It,
just like go put it on Belle Isle. I live kind of close to Belle Isle. So then I can just, every now and then take a good hike.
yeah. And then we probably have some more snowboarders out or skiers out here.
True. Yep. Yep.
And the
See?
mountain gets covered with snow.
Yep.
That's
That's
amazing.
okay.
That's amazing.
It could be
This
dual use.
was it. So when you did it, and it was really dark. What was the
Yeah.
scenery like around you? Like, could you see anything at all, really?
No, not really. We had like a guide. There was tons of people. There was like you basically pulled up and there was all these guides that were waiting for sort of like their groups of people that booked with their guide or whatever.
Yeah.
So we had this little girl, her name was Weedy, and she led us up but pretty much just like phone flashlights type of lighting on the way up, and it was pretty much all sand, so it was a very hard hike. Like if
Yeah.
you were in normal tennis shoes, you're pretty much like sliding on your butt all the way down. And getting up was just a total struggle. Luckily, I was not in normal tennis shoes. I had like hiking shoes, but yeah. And then by the time you got to the top, the sun was just starting to rise, so more light. And then on the way down, obviously it was lit, but then there was like monkeys on the way down, and actually the monkeys attacked the guy, our little guide. She was so cute, not in like an aggressive way, but they climbed on her and started unzipping her backpack, and she had like a first aid kit in there. So next thing you know, there's like gauze all over, and these
Oh
monkeys
my
are just crazy, but they're so cute. But
God.
yeah, so it was definitely dark for sure when you arrived. I'm like, yeah, I don't know what's out here or how long this is going to take. We didn't know anything. We were just like, okay, let's do it, because we heard it was amazing. So yeah, so beautiful, so beautiful.
That reminds me of the Moab sunrise trip little
Mm.
trek that we did through Arches National Park, and it was for sunrise, so we had never been there, and I'm just like, who wants to go? I'm like the crazy one that let's go, and I had two other people join me, and my headlight, I didn't check the batteries. The batteries were really dull. So the light was dull, and yes, and so we're complete darkness. Like actually, the trail that I drove up the side of like the mountain, kind of and weaved around, I had the big giant light bar on the Jeep. And that probably looked crazy from the road down below, seeing this like light climbing up the mountain, but it was that dark. And just so you not knowing what was coming toward you, you had the light on. But then we get there and we're like, well, we kind of don't have a light right now. Like we're just going to walk this thing. And it's not like assigned arrows or anything, like you're just kind of like, okay, I know it's over here, and you just get going. And it was really dark, and we were kind of using a cell phone light because the headlight was taking a crap. And and then we saw a guy kind of randomly came up, and we're like, are we going in the right direction for the sunrise at the arch? Because that's where we wanted to go. Yeah, go that way, and he kind of points or whatever. You can see like an outline of him, a silhouette from what light is starting to come from the sun. And then he was gone. Like, where did he go? And that's how kind of hilly and just no marked trail. So you could have gone that way and maybe made a left and made it there, and maybe that's what he did. But we kind of went straight and over to the right, and we were like on the other side of the arch. We were in the wrong direction. So we had to like turn around and like go back, and we just kind of kept feeling our way out for it.
Yeah, that's cool. That's fun. Like just going off the beat. I mean, it's fun for some. Some people are like, holy shit, I can't do that. But like, that's fun for me. It sounds like it's fun for you too.
Yeah.
Maybe we should do a retreat together, because we both sound crazy.
Yeah, we sound crazy. Exactly. Because I was the one telling them, I'm like, no, we got to go. And I mean, the way the sun is on different times of the year, it was still nice. I don't know if we got the best photos. We were thinking that the way the sun was going to light the arch, and we would get, some really awesome photos. But it actually just turned out to be a really nice sunrise. And there was these little, like, actually, I don't remember if they weren't really chipmunks, but they kind of acted like chipmunks. And they were just kind of like, beep, 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 beep. And they would go like in the crack over here, and then they were gone. And, it was like, I don't know, I wasn't scared. I just found my spot, and it was silence. And I just have this one photo of the way the sun was coming up, and I just took the camera over here and the way it was like lighting my face. And that, and then obviously the ones I took with my camera, but, it was fun. We enjoyed it. So,
yeah.
Tells a good story.
Yeah, for sure. I have to say, I think it was either last night or this morning, I saw a picture of Arches. And so it's really weird that you're telling this story. I'm like, is this a sign? Is that where I should go next?
Oh man, out there is some
maybe
amazing.
Is that where's your favorite place you've been?
Travel wise?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. It's hard to pick between something in the US versus like something outside of. I really liked Italy. Um, I didn't get to do a ton of stuff there, but there was one cool drive that we had gotten to take in a Fiat, of course, and the roof was off the Fiat. And we're driving around Italy, in one of those little Fiats, and Fiat's known in Italy, right?
Right.
So we're just looking at all this historical buildings and stuff and the cobblestone street and everything. And then there was a road that kind of winded all the way up part of this mountain or hill maybe. And there was church up there and this overlook. So you could overlook the city, and it was in Turin. And I was kind of amazed by all that, just the scenery, the plants, and everything. It's not Bali, but I mean, it was still like just something completely different from here because their lifestyle is completely different. The way they do food, and even at the airport, it was completely different than like anywhere else, in the U.S. that you fly into, and the way they treat coffee time even. It's like a special
Right.
it's like a special thing. It's not like, okay, let's get coffee and we'll get it on the go. It's like, no, they're hanging out having coffee.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love, yeah. Don't you find that like other countries, it makes you see how fast we move?
Yeah.
Like they just truly slow down and I guess almost like practice gratitude for the small things more often,
Yeah.
versus, yeah, like you said, the coffee example is a perfect example. Like we got to always get it on the go because we got to go here, 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 here. We got to do all these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love that.
we'll just grab it to go, and we'll be there in 5 minutes or whatever. And they're busy hanging around a little table that they're standing at. Even they're not even sitting down.
Yeah.
They're hanging
Totally
out
different lifestyle.
in no hurry at all.
Oh yeah. No such thing as time.
I loved it. I was like, this is exactly what I need right here.
Yeah. Yeah. They make you wait, which is like challenging. Like it challenges because you're so used to like, okay, the waitress comes, take your order, then you get your food 20 minutes later, whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like, it becomes a whole experience there. You might be there for hours and you're like, if you're used to something, it's going to challenge you. And you're like, where's my food? And you get hangry, all the things. It's just way different. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah,
but it's cool.
It is cool. And the airport there, that was another one too. I remember leaving was juice, and they gave you a glass, not plastic. It was a glass, and it was fresh pressed orange juice. So that was another wait. You were waiting, to get the juice. It wasn't like, here's your Tropicana and like plastic.
Oh my God, this was at the airport?
Yeah. So I was, like I said, I didn't travel around a ton, like, airport, like Rome. And well, no, I take that back. I did fly into Rome, but I didn't see much of it. But I was just like, that doesn't seem like something that's like common within like a lot of places, maybe. I don't know, but I know,
So cool.
I know Metro Detroit doesn't have that. It's sort of like,
heck no. Or anywhere in the States. You do not get that treatment.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Like I said,
oh my gosh. That's amazing.
I know. Here's your Tropicana in a plastic container. Go, go, go.
Yeah. Or your Gardettos or your Oreos or something. I'm just like, I can't even eat on planes anymore. I'm just like, I can't eat any of these snacks. I'm like, hey, neighbor, you want this?
Hey, neighbor.
Yeah.
That's so
I'll
funny.
take the tiny little water you gave me. That's about it.
Yeah. You pretty much just bring your own stuff, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So, manifest movement. Now, I like that because it sounds like, yeah, your title is, going along with everything that you're doing. I'm imagine that you probably have diverse crowd that comes to you, people that probably want to make a change, or ones that no, I just like this lifestyle and I want to be around like-minded people.
Yeah, I actually chose the name. I remember doing kind of like a word map a couple years ago before I left for my big travel trip because my sister encouraged me to do a travel blog. And so that's kind of how it started. And I always saw the name as more than just like manifesting movement, as in like getting on an airplane and like literally traveling, but also like traveling inward and looking inward. So I think the manifest movement can really plays out in all the things that I do and that I offer. So in the yoga, in the moving through fitness, I have a new coaching program that's called Connecting Hearts, but it still falls under my brand of Manifest Movement because it's taking a deep dive into really it's focused around like self-worth and self-love and identifying those things, looking at past conditioning, and really getting vulnerable and undoing a lot of those patterns and taking a look at your thought patterns and working through that stuff. So I feel like I'll never, I thought about changing the name, but because I was like, does this make sense? And I was like, no, it absolutely makes sense. People may not always see that unless it's like explained. But yeah, I think it like just aligns with everything that I offer because it's always this journey of self-discovery and self-love and acceptance. And you're always trying to manifest yourself being better, or at least I believe people should be, toward evolving to be a better person. Every single day I look where I was like 6 months ago, even something like the mindset piece of it. And I'm like, wow, like I'm literally changing every single day. I'm growing and I'm evolving and I constantly want to be. So I'm constantly manifesting that growth and that evolution for myself.
That's a great pattern, thought pattern for yourself, and I believe for everyone else as well, because, having an open mind, that's part of it too. And I think that that's the only way we'll be able to really grow because everything is just going to keep changing anyways. So,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter if it's technology. I mean, everything changes. So, you just
Absolutely.
just have to adapt, learn how to like grow or go with the punches, type of thing. And
Yeah.
that's I'm with you on that one, definitely.
Yeah.
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 So I know for paddleboarding, I say the same thing. Like I mean, I have one right now that's really has stayed dedicated all winter to stay with paddleboard skills. So when the summer comes, and it is a short season, unfortunately, but we jam pack it quite a bit. And
Yeah.
and I mean, that's great. Kudos to someone that wants to stay dedicated to something. And we meet virtually, and I mean, she's working from home and stuff, and so but think about it. Like, I'm crazy. I put a paddleboard in my living room or wherever
I love it.
in this, or, and it's off season, and she found a way to do it. She just
That's
asked.
amazing.
She just asked me what do I need. I said, here's the link. This is what I bought. There's other ones that are out there, but these are a little bit cheaper, and they do the same exact thing. And she set it up, and sure enough,
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
I know. So
See, that's like that being creative,
right?
right? In your
Yes.
off season. It's
Yeah.
totally doable.
Yeah. And you know what? And I mean, as much as it probably feels great for her, it does me too. Maybe this is a background honest moment here, like as being a teacher, it's satisfying for you too, to see somebody that wants to learn, adapt or grow or ask questions. I mean, you learn, that in yoga, you learn something from the student as well as they learn from you.
Oh, absolutely.
And how cool is that?
Yeah.
I
Or it's
like
like
it.
anytime I'm messaging in a yoga class, this,
Yeah.
like we're talking about our own shit, really. Like y'all are just here to listen. I'm just working through it and hopefully it resonates. But like if you're being a real human, like it's going to. And I used to be so caught up in like, what am I supposed to say? Or what am I supposed to talk about? That was always my biggest struggle in teaching. And honestly, a real moment for you, like within the past year is the first time it's taken me almost 5 years of teaching, the first time that I don't rehearse before I go into a class about what I'm supposed to say or how the message is going to be delivered. And I just like completely speak from the heart. I may have like this theme or something I know that I want to talk about,
Yeah.
but like I used to literally rehearse in the car on the way to me teaching of like how I was going to say it, how exactly I was going to start it. But I'm very type A, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, and honestly, like it's so much more fulfilling, and I think resonates with people so much more also. But yeah, I think it's inevitable to like reap the benefits too when you're doing something that you love. Like, so as much as like you're helping this woman grow and learn, like you're getting just as much back, that is like living your truth and living your passion, which is so cool to hear. I love that.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, you see it with a lot of people, even during the summer, whether they keep coming back, I mean, I know I'm talking about the extremist. Although she might listen to this and she might not think it's that extreme, but I know that like that takes dedication. So, but the ones that come back, through the summer, class after class, I mean, that's dedication too. So it's, we're all still at different levels and things like that. And, that it's still very open to, I'm still recognizing this person or that person, so, cause we're all different and we're all,
for sure,
we're all at a different speed and different learning levels and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure, you come across that as well,
Yeah. But you holding space for people and like when everyone's at a different level, I think is like a big job too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So making sure people feel supported if someone's like a pro and someone's just beginning, like trying to manage both of those people at the same time that's a challenge for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is, but I mean, I love it. I love it. Just keep being positive,
For sure. Yeah.
Totally.
Yep.
What type of inspirational message? I mean, not that I think everything has already been inspirational, but
I hope so.
we'll have to do a part 2 for sure. Like after when is the Aruba?
Aruba's in October.
Oh, okay, perfect then.
You might get me part 2 if it's after that and you want to talk about that retreat. I might just be crying the whole time because it's going to be so amazing and so special. Like the women that are coming, I'm just like, I can't wait for this. Like it's going to be great.
I want to hear about it. So we'll circle back around like.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, however many months that is. And but and then as a ending piece, what type of like inspirational message would you share? Could be something super simple. A gathering.
Yeah.
A gathering and
I would say, I feel like there's so many thoughts, but I'll just keep it at one simple thought. How about that? Love yourself first before you can love anybody else. I'll just say that. Because then I could just go on a rant and we'll be here another 15 minutes. So I will say that.
Okay. Well,
just a reminder.
Okay. Say it again.
Love yourself first before you can love anybody else.
There you go. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. And like I said, I am for real about part 2 because I do want to hear follow-ups and because this has been their first podcast. So
yes, this was mine. This was fun though. Thank you so much. And I can't wait to get on the water with you this summer because it's happening.
Okay. I'm inviting you because I don't know. I don't know if I'm having a podcast retreat here at this house or what, but
Let's do it.
There's been some paddleboarders. They're like, yeah, we're coming out. So I don't know. We'll see what I can come up with. But even if it's just individually, then I'm fine with that too. Because we have a ball here. Like just between paddleboards and just other toys and stuff. So yeah, you should definitely keep that open somewhere in between July, maybe to September.
Okay.
Okay.
Done.
Done and done.
Done. Let me know when. I'll be there.
I got to grab you before you leave the country again.
Yeah, that's not until October that you're safe.
You're safe.
Hopefully, who knows? But yes, that would be so fun. I would love to come play on the water.
Yeah,
for sure.
Sweet, awesome. Well, I appreciate this. Thank you for everything that you shared and fun stories and everything. And we'll look forward to it again. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. That was such a fun episode. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you, Anayat, for sharing the stories and just fun things that you've seen traveling. And I want to, I'm going to put it in the show notes and on YouTube, her connections on to get to see her. If you're interested in the retreats or maybe just connecting with her or working one-on-one, you can go to manifestmovement.co and her Instagram handle, Manifest Movement. And she is Anayat, and I highly recommend her. We trained together, and I just highly recommend her coaching skills and her just passion for what she's doing. So go check her out. And again, thanks for tuning in.